Welcome to Massive Late Fee. And now your hosts, Mark and Carol.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Massive Late Fee. My name is Mark. With me as always is my drumming girlfriend, Carol. How you doing today, Carol?
Hey, what's up?
Not much. It's been a good week here. It's October 11th, 1997. Drumming your fingers, huh?
Yep.
So it's been a eventful week for us here over at the Fee. Not much news is going on really, but Dean Smith has retired from the North Carolina Tar Heels.
Cool. Sorry
to talk about sports, everyone.
I'm just not a sports person, but whatever.
He's a legendary college basketball coach.
Okay.
And he is now retired.
I hope he enjoys his retirement.
Me too. I hope he doesn't blow his brains out like somebody in this
God.
movie that we watched.
So many people in this movie got their brains blown out.
That's true. I didn't even think about that, but yeah. There's a Tarantino-esque section of this movie.
It did. It reminded me a little bit of Pulp Fiction.
So I don't know. We're talking about, if you can't read, we're talking about the film Boogie Nights, which we saw. This is directed by a director named Paul Thomas Anderson. And I point out directors when we don't always mention who directs the movies that we're talking about, but I point out directors when they're younger and when there is a certain level of artistry to what is being made. And Paul Thomas Anderson's directed one other movie, came out I think last year, called Hard 8, that we didn't see or talk about. And then this is his second feature film. And I would say there's quite a bit of degree of artistry in this movie. What do you think? Oh,
yeah, for sure. It's kind of a pretty movie to watch. I mean, it's hard to say that with the subject matter, but
I like how this movie basically depicts the porn industry. And we start in 1977. We end, I think, in 1983 or 1984.
Somewhere in the 80s, yeah.
And we go through... One thing that I like is this movie, like I said, this movie concerns the porn industry. And in the quote-unquote golden age of pornography in the 70s.
The golden age? Why is it the golden age? What qualifies porn as being golden? I mean, other than golden showers. I'm sorry. I don't mean to jump all over what you're saying, but...
You did jump all over what I'm saying. Now I have to derail everything that I was saying, the point that I was going to make about the actual filmmaking, to explain to you the golden age of pornography and then tie that into the movie, because they're all very tied together.
Well, I'm sure there are other people listening to these tapes who may not know about the golden age of pornography.
So in the 1970s, a movie called Deep Throat came out, and it was in a huge sensation. People talked about it. So for those of you that don't know, pornography used to be released into movie theaters.
It's so fucked up.
People would have, not mainstream movie theaters, but specific movie houses that only showed X-rated movies.
Who wants to go sit in a room with other people and watch porn and masturbate? Ugh.
Guys in the 70s.
Gross.
Sometimes, apparently, Warren Beatty took some dates to some X-rated movies.
That's awful.
That's what I've heard. I mean, allegedly. Mr. Beatty, don't sue us. He's married to, what's her name now? The one that he was in Bugsy with. That's the porn nut. What's her name?
I don't know.
His wife, Anne something. Anyway, so... Not Anne Bancroft. Anyway, so... What was I saying? So in the 70s, they were shot on film like a regular movie, and then they were released to movie houses and pornographic movie houses. And they made money the same way that movies make money now. They just obviously didn't make as much money as mainstream films because, you can't take your, 7-year-old nephew to a pornographic film. You have to be 18 or older to get in.
Well, and you have to be a certain kind of person.
Yeah, the kind of person that wants to put on a trench coat. And imagine working in one of those theaters.
No.
Like being the janitor or whatever.
No.
What do they call those people? The usher. Being the usher in one of those theaters.
Jizz cleaners? That's what they call them.
How easy do you think it is to get it off the fabric of the back of that chair?
I bet you they're not fabric.
You think they're plastic?
If they're smart.
Or they were?
Yeah.
They don't really exist anymore.
Which
is part of the point of this movie.
Right. No, if they're smart, there is no fabric in that room.
It's all like tile or some kind of like easy to clean. So it's all Formica.
Yep. That's correct.
Anyway, so back in the 70s, in the 60s, obviously the United States was too sexually repressed and stuff for any of these X-rated movie houses to become a big deal, right? And any of these X-rated movies to become a big deal.
Right.
And then in the 80s, as depicted in the film, we go more towards videotape, right? And
where people can masturbate in the privacy of their own home.
Correct. And of course, now we have pornographic images on the internet and things like that. So it's a continuum or whatever, right? The golden age was the perfect sweet spot in the mid to late 70s before videotape rose to prominence, before being able to watch things on, like whenever you wanted to in your home became a thing. And when the morals of the country or whatever, the minds, however you want to put it, not, getting judgmental here, expanded or loosened enough to where this could become an actual thing that made a decent amount of money. That you could put, as Burt Reynolds' character, Jack, the director, puts it, you could put $25,000 into a movie like this in $1977 and actually see a return on investment for it.
Wow.
So that's the golden age of pornography, which is where this movie begins. One of the things that I like about, and that thing too is, well, I'll get to my other point. One of the things I like about it is the cinematography of the movie, I think, is fantastic. And we start out where everything's very slick. There's a lot of artistry and stuff put in and everything. And then as the story progresses and we move more into the 80s, where everything's done on film, the cinematography gets a little bit grainier.
Yeah. A
little bit not quite as good on purpose. And the colors kind of go along with that too. That's what made me think of it. You were talking about how bright of a movie it is and everything. And I really like the whole cinematography motif of this film, where we start in the mid-70s and everything is bright. So there's all the cinematography of the beginning of the movie is all these deep browns and beiges, which were very popular in the 70s, and then the bright like reds and yellows and things like that. And then as we move on, the cinematography gets more and more neon as we move into the 80s, because that's obviously where we progressed.
Right.
And I like that the cinematography reflects the era that we're in and what's going on with it. And I thought that was a very like conscious and good choice.
I love that you notice shit like that. Like, I didn't notice that. Like, I can see it now that you're pointing it out, but just watching the movie, it's like, I just thought, oh, it's pretty to look at. That's the extent of my thought. But yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, it works a lot, and even if you don't really notice it works a lot on a subconscious level, because that's like the cinematography and the lighting is part of the cinematography. The cinematography really it captures the mood of the film, or it should anyway. And the other thing that I liked is there's a lot of, and the movie begins with one. I guess I'll just go to the beginning of the movie. So we open up with Eddie from Torrance. Just that's his name.
Eddie from Torrance. Oh, from Torrance, California.
Yeah,
okay.
Torrance, California, because he said
I was
that's where
trying
he's
to think
from.
about what I thought you were saying, like the actor, and that they were from something called Torrance. And I was like, what?
No, it's Mark Wahlberg.
Okay. Yes.
It's former Mark Wahlberg. It's
Mark Wahlberg from Fear.
Yeah, it's that's correct. Yeah, he was in the movie Fear. He's playing he's a 27-year-old playing a 17-year-old who looks 37.
Right.
But he doesn't look that old. But he's 17 and he's working in a club run by, I cannot remember his name. He's been in some other movies. The guy that plays, I think it's, I can't remember his name either. Miguel, I believe, in the movie.
I have no idea.
But he's very good. He's not in the movie a lot. There's a lot of very talented actors in and around this movie. But so the very beginning of it, he's working as a busboy there, and Burt Reynolds, who is this legendary pornographic director, is coming in with his. They're not married.
Girlfriend.
I guess they're boyfriend and girlfriend. It's they live together.
Yeah.
Their relationship is somewhat ambiguous.
I mean, I get the feeling that they're like definitely together and probably together forever, but they probably have permission to do things with other people, it seems like.
Yeah,
because,
we don't really
I mean,
see Burt Reynolds do that.
No, that's true. But I mean, she's a porn star, so like, how can you even define like the lines in a relationship like that?
Yeah,
like,
what fidelity is and what's infidelity.
Yeah, it's like she's in your movie, you're directing, fucking other people, but you're gonna tell her not to do it outside of that. Like,
and we don't know if he does or not.
I don't think he did.
The parameters of their relationship is not well defined, but it doesn't really need to be.
No.
They act as the mother and father of the menagerie of pornographic characters and people that exist in the film.
It's so fucked up. It's such a fucked up situation.
It is a weird, incestuous kind of thing, but it works a lot for the movie.
Yeah. Julianne Moore.
Yeah, that's right.
Plays his
9
girlfriend.
months own Julianne Moore.
And I mean, at one point later in the movie, like she's talking about how she loves him and
Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, and he's like her son, but then she jumps on him.
Yeah, but then she fucks him.
It's like, what the fuck, lady?
It's very
lane.
weird. It's very weird. But the movie begins, like I said, with them coming into this club.
Yes.
And we get the atmosphere set right away because they focus in on like a marquee which says Boogie Nights, name of the movie, and then we get period cars, everything mid-70s, like those big muscle cars. They're going down the boulevard, and the camera pans in one long. And I don't know. I'm not an editor. I know a couple people that are editors, and they'll notice little like hidden cuts where you don't, because sometimes obviously when you're watching a movie your brain doesn't really notice it, but there are hard cuts where you go from one thing to the next and everything. There are a little more subtle cuts, and then there's like hidden cuts where it's like they made a cut there, but they splice it together to where it looks like they didn't make a cut. I don't know if there were any of those in here, but I don't think so. It reminds me a lot of Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas.
Okay.
The scene where they go into the club, it's like one long, big, unbroken shot. They come from outside. They walk through the back of the club. They go through the kitchen, and they go out into the main area of the club, and everything kind of opens up. And the camera follows them unbroken. It's like a 5-minute unbroken shot of them walking through there. It's very technically dazzling. And this reminds me a lot of that. And it's of a similar length. And like I said, I don't think there are any hidden cuts. I'd have to watch the movie again and really pay attention to figure it out. But we start on the street. Everything comes, we come out. We move and follow Burt Reynolds or follow Jack and Amber Waves is Julianne Moore's name. Follow them through the front of the someone's driving a motorcycle past us. through the front of the club, and then kind of through the club and everything. Why you keep looking at me like you're confused about what I'm saying? You're scrunching your face up like what I'm saying is confusing to you. Is this confusing what I'm saying?
No. Why? If I if I want to talk about something, I will talk about it. Okay.
So anyway, they move through, and then we see Roller Girl for the first time.
Yeah.
And she comes. We follow her up to the table, and then we kind of turn on. Jack's eye turns onto
Mark Wahlberg.
Eddie from Torrance. And then that's when we get our first cut. But that whole opening is one long, big, unbroken shot.
Yeah. You know what was weird? I just realized something. Because you mentioned that Jack doesn't cheat on Julianne Moore. He doesn't sleep with anybody else anyway.
Right.
Also, when she orders, and it struck me when at the beginning, she orders a martini, I think. He orders a 7-Up.
Yeah.
And I wish I'd paid better attention. I don't know if he ever drank anything, if he ever used any drugs. Like, everybody else around him was doing all this stuff. I don't think he partook in any of it.
I don't think so. One of the things, and I think that's one of those subtle things in this movie that really works. I liked this movie a lot. I gathered from the very brief conversation that we had before we came on the air that you didn't like it nearly as much as me.
I didn't like the way I felt after watching it.
It's not a glamorous movie about the porn industry.
I mean, it's not. It's a good movie, but it's a hard watch, and there's just a lot of really sad shit. So,
well, and I would imagine that in and around this industry, there is a lot of.
Yeah,
I mean, at least
I'm sure.
At least it used to be, or whatever. So obviously, eventually, he changes his name to Dirk Diggler.
Sounds like diddler, like he's diddling.
Yeah, well, somebody does in this movie. But we'll get to it. But he's based somewhat broadly on John C. Holmes, the legendary pornographic actor who had a very large penis. That's the characteristic. But other than that, there's no real indication that this is based on his life. John Holmes died of AIDS in the late 80s, so.
Okay.
But anyway, I don't know how they closed that casket. But anyway, so yeah, they do one of the things I love about the movie, this is another thing I think is done really well. This movie succeeds to me on every technical aspect. I think it's basically a perfect film. I don't really see any flaws in any of the technical aspects of filmmaking. Whether or not you like it based on, your own subjective, I like this kind of thing or I don't, is up to every individual, obviously. But acting-wise, screenplay, cinematography, all the wardrobe, all the technical stuff, I think, is a 10 out of 10.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the writing is one of the strongest parts about the film. We get a lot of characters.
Oh, yeah. You're right. I mean, there's a lot of characters in the movie, and they're all fleshed out decently.
Yeah, and they're all fleshed out in very quick sketch ways. Everyone gets maybe a 3-minute scene where they're talking or whatever. They're having a conversation with someone else, and the camera slowly kind of pushes in on them, and they flesh out their character in that way. And it never feels forced, or it's all very subtle.
Yeah.
There's an actor I haven't really seen in much called Don Cheadle, who's in this movie. He plays Buck. And he one of his bits is that as we go from year to year, we don't see him much. We see him, intermittently every few years. He's one of the pornographic actors, and he keeps changing his look. He starts out country and western. He ends up in some weird, like, Rick James looking fucking outfit with the whites.
I didn't know what the fuck that was.
That was supposed to be like a Rick James type thing, because he looks a lot like Rick James, and I think maybe in the Super Freak video. And then eventually he's wearing Adidas, and then like he's slowly like changing his look over the years, and that's one of his characteristics. Yeah. And he has a conversation with this one woman, and they end up getting married and have kids. Their whole thing could be a movie in and of itself.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They're very interesting, but yeah, it always leaves you kind of wanting more.
Yeah, and it's all in these very small sections. That's another thing that reminds me a little bit of Tarantino or Pulp Fiction, is that there's a lot of individual stories going along around here, but they're all blended really well together. Mm-hmm. Like all these different people, like you said, everything's very sketch, but I feel like I know them. Like they feel very real to me, these people. Like Roller Girl Roller Girl's in it more than some of the other ones. But that's Heather Graham is her name.
She is almost like less fleshed out to me though. Like I don't feel like I know her character, except that she's weird because she won't take off her roller skates, and she's a porn star who becomes addicted to drugs. I mean, like, I don't really see a ton. Well, I guess they did, because she wanted to get her GED, and
she wanted to get her GED. She was in school. They were taking the final exams.
Yeah. All
the guys were like, I don't know, like fucking making her feel like a whore.
Well, because they recognized her from porn.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's because she was wearing her fucking roller skates. Like she won't take them off in the porn, and she's roller skating around school.
Yeah.
Of course they're going to recognize her.
Yeah, it's like her calling card.
Yeah.
And that's obviously that speaks to some sort of
psychological damage.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So that exists in her mind.
Right.
Also, so she leaves school, but she's always desired to get her degree. And we have no idea where her parents are, but she basically begs Julianne Moore to be her mom.
Yeah, that was so sad.
And wants to call her mom. So she obviously has this desire for acceptance, and these are universal things that all people want. And she's like begging for it.
Yeah.
But she gets it.
Kind of, yeah.
That's the thing. And she ends up moving in with, they never say like, oh, this is her moving in. Just it's one line. Burt Reynolds is like, can you move the dirt from one side of your room to the other side of your room? So it looks like you did something or whatever. So she obviously lives there with them now. I
kind of thought maybe she always lived with them.
No idea.
Because if you remember, like when they first pick up Eddie, mm-hmm. He has to sleep with her. Yeah. They go back to...
Well, she sucks his dick first.
Yeah, but they go back to Jack's house,
mm-hmm.
and he's like, hey, what do you think of her? Have sex with her. And, like, his wife has just gone to bed, or girlfriend or whatever.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like she was very much at home. Yeah, like, maybe. Well, she did say you're out, not we're out of limes, but...
Yeah, and she probably hung out there a lot. I got the feeling that a lot of these people hung out there a lot.
Right.
At Jack's house.
Jack's house is just kind of like the place.
Well, he's got a huge mansion with a big pool and...
hot tub.
Yeah. They shoot a lot of the pornography there, too, apparently.
Yeah. There's a bar outside, like a tiki hut little bar. That's right. Cute.
So, definitely the place to hang out.
I wouldn't mind hanging out there as long as people weren't fucking.
Well, that's part and parcel with it, Carol.
Well, yeah. And then there's that weird couple where the lady is fucking everybody except her husband.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, she's in the driveway of this house having sex, and there were just people standing around watching, but nobody was filming.
No.
I don't understand.
She's just like a fucking weird exhibitionist or whatever. I don't know if she was like trying to embarrass him or what. I mean, he came up and he was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And she's like, "Shut up, Bill. You're embarrassing me." And they all called him Little Bill.
Yeah, that was not good.
So, yeah, that's not if you're in the porn industry, Little Bill's not the name that you want.
He was like a cameraman or something, right?
I got the impression that he was either a producer or an assistant director, because he was having conversations with the cinematographer on a technical level about what we should, like, the cinematographer was coming up to him and being like, hey, I think we're going to need more light here, whatever. He was basically saying, this is what I think, but as if Bill was the one in charge. Mm-hmm. Like, at first I thought maybe he was the director and Jack was kind of like the big producer over it, but Jack is definitely the director directing this whole movie.
Yeah.
He's in charge of this whole production. So Bill answered to him, but it seemed like the cinematographer and a lot of the other people were answering to Bill. So that makes me think that Bill is either a producer kind of making sure everything is correct and, hey, I need this, I need that. He's the one that procures all that stuff. Or an assistant director to Jack. So something like that. He was an integral part of the production.
But never participating in the porn.
No, he wasn't a performer.
So, but his wife was.
I don't think so.
Was she?
I don't think so. I think she was just a whore.
Okay.
Because we never saw her in any movies.
Yeah, he catches her cheating on him 3 different times.
Yeah, third time's the charm, I guess so.
I guess so.
Yeah, because he comes home and she's having sex with some guy in their bedroom. And she's like, go sleep on the couch.
Yeah.
I felt so bad for this guy.
Go sleep on the... Why? I don't understand why he took that, though. Like, why not be like, no, get the fuck out then? Like, I don't... Right. Like, why would he just be like, okay, I'm going to go sleep on the couch?
But that's the thing is that's part of his character sketch. Ugh. That's part of his personality. He was a mousy kind of guy. He wasn't... he was a bit of a pushover.
Yeah, it was sad.
And then, like you said, on the driveway or whatever, with a bunch of people just watching. And he said, what are you doing? And she goes, you're embarrassing me.
Yeah, she said, what does it look like I'm doing?
Yes.
Go away.
Right. Like, it's fucked up.
Yeah.
So then the cinematographer is trying to have a conversation with him about it. And he's like, doesn't want to have this conversation. And this actor, with William H. Macy, he was in Fargo. He fucks up his line.
Yeah, he does. It was funny though.
he said she's got an ass in her penis.
Yeah.
Or cock or whatever.
Yeah, cock. Yeah.
As when it's supposed to be the other way around.
She's got an ass and her cock in the driveway.
Yeah, you think I want to talk about this right now. But they left it in. I don't know if because they didn't notice or if it was because they were like, this guy would be all discombobulated, so it's kind of makes sense.
It does make sense. But I mean, like, she just acted like it was normal and like he was the one that was wrong. Like, how do you do, like, what kind of a fucking monster?
I don't know.
Ugh, I did not like her.
So, yeah, no one did. So then the third time.
Well, some people did.
Yeah. The third time, they're at the New Year's party. It's 1979, New Year's 1979. And they're counting down to 1980. They don't get to see 1980.
Nope, they miss it by just a little.
They died in the 70s. But she's having sex with some other guy in the back room. So he just calmly goes out to his car, unlocks his car, grabs a gun, locks his car.
Yeah.
Again.
What was that about? I guess just habit. Yeah.
Or I think it's to show the calm nature of everything that's going on. Mm-hmm. And he goes in and shoots them both, presumably killing them, and then he kills himself.
Yep, quite the thing to see.
And that's the end of his story. I guess we could kind of go story by story. And so if you want to continue, yeah, go ahead.
No, and like that was the first time that we saw brains in this movie, but not the last.
No. If we want to finish up Buck's story, so Buck, like we said, one of his bits is he's going through different looks throughout the years. And he's selling, on the side of doing pornography, he's selling stereo equipment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how he started out, was he was trying to sell a stereo. And then he mentioned several times he's saving up money. He wants to open his own, shop. Yeah. And then, he's saying he's going to get a loan and open his shop.
So he meets this girl. They end up getting married. We see that very briefly, them getting married. And then we see him go to try to get a loan. And the loan officer's like, no.
Because you're in porn.
Because you do pornography.
At first I thought it was going to be because he was black. Like they were going to be like racist, but they were looking down on him because he does porn, which I imagine it would be really hard to get anybody to take you seriously in any way.
Probably.
You know, I think that's probably accurate.
So then his wife gets pregnant, and he goes to a donut shop at night around Christmas time.
He's wearing, by the way, an all-white suit. Where the fuck were they coming or going from?
Who knows?
But yeah, completely white suit. Okay.
So was he?
Yes.
Okay.
He was. I thought maybe they were coming or going from their wedding.
No, she was pregnant.
That doesn't mean that they couldn't have been getting married, but
No,
anyway.
They were already married. We saw them
yeah.
get married.
But yeah, no, he was wearing white. Anyway.
So, and she also has a little character thing where she does oil paintings of everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, and Dirk's house, when he gets a house, is full of her paintings.
Yeah, she just does. She's just one of the people that hangs. Like I said, it's a whole menagerie of just weird characters, but they're all wonderful in their own little way, right?
I guess.
So she's got a habit of doing these oil paintings, and she's just painting everybody, and they're not good, but whatever. So she's pregnant, so she wants a bunch of donuts. So he's going in there to get a dozen donuts. This guy comes in to rob the place. Give me all the money from the cash register, the safe. So this dude, unloads all the money into this paper bag. And there's one other guy in the place.
What a fucking idiot.
And he's got a gun.
Yeah, and the character Buck sees him going to pull out his gun.
He slowly starts pulling the gun out.
And he's like shaking his head. He's like, no, don't do it.
And the guy who's not even looking, the robber, is like, shut up.
Yeah, he thinks he's talking to him or something. Mm-hmm. And the guy fucking does. I was so afraid when this was all going down. I thought one of the bullets was going to hit his wife.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking, or him. But I thought it was probably going to be his wife.
Uh-huh.
And so when he shoots towards them, I'm like, oh, fuck, he's going to miss. He gets him.
He gets the robber. The robber gets a shot off.
Yeah, because he only gets him in the arm.
So then the
first shooter dude.
Yeah, the first shooter dude gets shot.
And as he's dead, but as he's falling down, he pulls off another shot, like his muscle spasms or whatever, and just so happens to shoot the cashier.
So all three of them are dead.
And there are brains
just
all over
Buck. Yeah, he's just standing there like in shock. And he looks down and sees the bag of money.
Also covered in brains, by the way.
Right.
And I think this was a stupid move. I mean, it worked out for him.
Yeah, it did.
But it shouldn't have. And I think in real life it wouldn't have.
Why?
Because there are 3 dead people. And he's going to walk off with a bag of money covered in their brains. Like, they're not going to eventually, figure some shit out.
How?
I don't know. Maybe somebody sees him walk out with a bag of money and brains. I mean,
it's the middle of the night. There was no one else around. It's 1983 or whatever. There are not any surveillance cameras in this place. They walk in and they see this scene. So they say to themselves, well, this was a robbery gone wrong. And either someone ran in and grabbed the money that didn't have anything to do with this, and how the fuck are we ever going to find him? Or there was another robber, and yeah, we'll investigate and try to... But what evidence are they going to find?
I don't know. It just seems like it shouldn't have worked.
Well, it did.
It did. He gets his store.
Yeah, good for him. So Buck gets a happy ending.
I guess. Don't you think he should have called the police?
Nah. Everyone's dead. Why? What I want to know is, what fucking donut shop is taking in enough money that he could afford to open a fucking radio store?
Yeah, that's true.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah. I think it was probably just enough to get him started. Because, yeah, that's way... You're right. There's no way. There's no way there'd be enough money.
I mean, how much do you think could have been in that small, shitty little paper bag?
Well, I mean, I used to work in a bookstore, and it was a little, tiny, not busy ever, hardly store. And at most, I'd say we took in, $400 in a day.
I know someone, and I want to emphasize this is not me. But I know someone who, during college, came from a poor family and did not have a lot of money. And one day they decided they were going to rob a 7-Eleven.
Wow.
In the area. They robbed the 7-Eleven, and they never told me exactly how much they got, but it was enough to pay for at least like 3 semesters of college and their books.
Wow. Well, here's the thing, because of the safe. It's not just one day. It's however long it's been since they've been to the bank.
Right.
And who knows how long that was.
I mean, maybe this donut shop only went to the bank once a month.
Yeah.
And this robber knew that.
So it could have been thousands and thousands of dollars.
You don't know, I guess, but it seems weird.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the end of his little story. And then we get just a lot of different people.
Yeah, I mean, there was like the one guy, he's gay. He's obviously in love with Dirk Diggler.
Yeah, Philip Seymour Hoffman, who was in Scent of a Woman. He was the little fucking scuzzy guy that was going to rat on, what's his name? Who's in that movie?
I don't know.
It's not Chris O'Donnell, it's the other one.
Oh, it was Chris O'Donnell instead of a woman.
Then Chris O'Donnell.
Yeah.
So he was going to rat on Chris O'Donnell.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, he plays this character. He's always doing the long, lingering looks at Dirk.
He does, this guy, this Philip Seymour Hoffman, I think his character's name is Simon. He does an excellent job. He seems like a very good actor.
Yeah.
He does an excellent job of playing a gay guy that is in no way stereotypical.
Yeah.
He does like tons of tiny little mannerisms where it's like, oh, like I knew the character was gay almost instantly.
Really?
Pretty early on.
Well, I didn't know until I saw him looking at Dirk. But Dirk should have known because he was the one he's looking at.
Well, yeah, that's true.
But he...
Same New Year's party.
Yeah. Same New Year's party before the guy gets his brains blown out. He had just bought a car just like Dirk's.
Yeah, similar.
Yeah, and he wants to show him, and then
he's got a fucking orange Corvette.
It was red, honey.
That's the car that Dirk got. No, it's Competition Orange. They even called it Competition Orange.
Oh, okay. See, he's color deficient, so I just assume he doesn't know, but I guess you do.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, if it looked red to you, it's 100% orange.
Weird.
So I don't know if Competition Orange is supposed to be like a red orange. I'm guessing yes, but I don't see any of the red. I just see the orange.
Huh. That's so weird because to me it just looked like a bright red race car, basically.
Interesting. But anyway, so yeah, they're both Competition orange cars.
He got his car painted to match Dirk's car. It was not that color originally.
No. And then he said, "I wanted to make sure that you liked it, or else I'd take it back."
And then he just kisses him. He just like attacks him with a kiss, and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Because he's not gay.
No, they're buddies. Like they hang out and stuff like that. But
and he's like, "Don't you want me to kiss you?" No.
Right.
Well, I was afraid he was going to end up killing himself or something, but he didn't. Yeah. He just, he had a little meltdown like anybody would, and then moved on. Yeah, he got over it.
Called himself stupid a bunch of times.
Yeah.
That was really sad, too.
It was stupid, though. I'm sorry, like, not stupid to be gay. Mm-hmm. Stupid to think that this this heterosexual porn star who's never looked at you is going to respond.
He said, "Sometimes you look at me."
Oh, I think he's wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
He's deluded. Not dumb, deluded.
But so Dirk Diggler makes best friends with this guy, Reed, who's played by John C. Reilly.
I don't like him.
No?
I didn't like his character.
How come?
He just seemed very like a hanger-on and very disingenuous. Disingenuous?
Are we making up new words here?
I guess.
He's disingenuous.
He seemed fake.
Yeah, I agree. Well, actually, I don't know if I agree or not, but they really bonded over how much they could weightlift. As someone who's also into fitness, that was a fascinating conversation to me. They both didn't say how much they could bench press.
Yeah, and they were like, "Let's go at the same time," but they were both too scared.
Yeah,
it was ridiculous.
Do you really think that he seemed disingenuous?
Stop using the word because I feel dumb about the word.
You think he seemed fake?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree.
Well, okay. Because when Dirk goes off the deep end, and he does go off the fucking deep end, he follows him off the deep end and then continues to encourage all of his craziness instead of being like a actual friend and being like, hey, you're crazy.
See, I took it as he loved Dirk so much, you know, like as a friend, because he's not gay, and was as stupid as Dirk was, that he was just as deluded as he was about, like, I think he listened to him sing. Because what happens is they end up finding a hot new guy, you know, and everything, and a new young guy. Dirk gets
very jealous,
and he's taking drugs at this point because his mom / lover / boss's girlfriend, Julianne Moore,
right,
gives him, it's like a fucking Alabama profile.
This was at the New Year's party too. This was a very eventful party.
Yeah, it was. They wanted to go into 80 with with a bang.
And they did.
So, well, that one guy's wife did twice. Two guys.
Wow.
Anyway, so he's addicted to drugs and everything at this point. So he fucking flips out and yells at Jack and all that stuff and gets fired. And like you said, that's when John C. Reilly goes out with him too. And he's like, let's try to make you a music star. So he's singing.
But he can't sing.
He's singing, you got the touch.
It's awful.
You got the power, which I think was in the Transformers movie.
I don't know.
But anyway, he's terrible. He's not even as good as Lion, who I think is the original singer of that song. But John C. Reilly's like, yeah, it's awesome.
He's like jamming and stuff too. Like, I thought that was just him being like, oh, I'll just go along with whatever you want as long as you keep giving me money, buying me drugs, whatever.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think he was a true friend.
All right. Well, and like before this, they partnered up on some porn because
that sounds really bad.
Well, because Jack had said in the very beginning that his dream was to make a porn movie that had a story that was so good that after somebody came, they'd just sit in it to see what else is going to happen.
Well, and that's the other thing too, is I really appreciate this, like Jack's character, and Burt Reynolds does an outstanding job.
Oh yeah,
in this movie,
he always does an outstanding job.
This is one of his best roles ever, I think. You really get the feeling that he absolutely cares about the artistry. Mm-hmm. Like he puts and he wants artistry in pornography. And if you look at what happened in the 80s and then where it went and where it is now, I'd say that's gone from pornography. I don't think there's artistry in it at all anymore.
Oh yeah, I agree.
But it's an interesting idea that he wants to actually craft a script that is a complete story just with graphic sex in it.
Yeah. And so they all kind of team up together to do that. They make these, he's supposed to be like a James Bond kind of character.
Yeah.
But then, what's her name? Amber
Waves.
Yeah, she does a documentary about Dirk. Mm-hmm. And they're talking about the movies that he did and stuff. And it's like, they're talking about like, there's a lot of violence in it and stuff. And you're seeing like these like pieces of it where he's just beating up these girls and torturing them with sex and stuff. And it didn't seem good.
I don't know if that seems an exaggeration, but
you think?
Yeah, I mean, like he slapped one or whatever, and he was like, "I'll get you to tell me what I want," and then started having sex with her.
That was more than one. There was more than one scene where he hit a girl.
I don't know.
They talked about how violent his movies were.
Yeah.
So, I'm just saying, I didn't like the way that the movie seemed to be portrayed. It was kind of funny. Mm-hmm. He was supposed to be like James Bond. He was not like James Bond.
No, it's funny, like the way that they do it is funny.
But he wins all these awards playing this character, and like he won like 3 awards his first time at the porn award ceremony.
The Porn Academy Awards.
Right. That was the second annual one, and then we see I think like 6 or 7 of them.
Do you think that's a real thing?
I don't know. I hope not. It sounds. Ugh.
Well, it is a private industry. So, the private industry can have their own award shows. I mean, that's essentially all the Academy Awards is a private industry award show.
I'm sure it could, and maybe it does, but I wouldn't want to see that many porn stars all in one place. It seems unsanitary.
Now, don't you think you're being a bit judgmental about these people?
Yes.
I think part of what this movie is supposed to do is humanitize people that are in this industry.
They're human, sure. But, I mean, it doesn't...
Wow, that's big of you to concede that to them.
It doesn't make me feel, like, sorry for them exactly. It's just, like... I don't know. I mean, it doesn't make the life choices look good. It's not like I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, I see the validity of porn now. Like,
no, and I don't think it's supposed to. Like I said, I think that this movie does a great job of highlighting the humanity of the people in this industry while not glamorizing this industry at all.
Okay.
I think it strikes the perfect tone.
And, I mean, I guess so. I'm just saying, I think that a bunch of them together is not a good idea, and I think the movie actually illustrates that.
Oh, okay. All right. But then there's also the family aspect of it, too.
Stop saying
Jackson. No, I mean it in a good way. Jack is there for the wedding of Buck, and I don't know if they even ever said her name.
They did, but I don't remember
his
what it was.
wife's name. And then later in the movie, they're there with their baby, playing with their baby in the pool.
Yeah.
Like, we're at Uncle Jack's house, and she's painting a fucking portrait and everything. It's like there are wholesome family aspects of this, too. There are also, dangerous undersides to it. Like the fact that at the first party that we see at Jack's house, somebody's calling for Maggie. It's the son looking for his mom named Maggie. This was so sad.
Which you'd seen the night before her crying because she missed her son, by the way.
Yeah. And it turns out it's Amber, but no one knows that's her real name.
Yeah.
So, no, there's no Maggie here. So then they hang up.
So she could have talked to her child that she misses, but didn't.
And then later, she has a custody hearing with her ex-husband.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically says, hey, she's in the porn industry and there's a bunch of drugs and shit. So she shouldn't get to see her child.
Yeah, it sounds like she took her kid to Jack's house a couple times, and that's what caused the problems. Yeah. Maggie's or Amber's story is just fucking sad as hell, too.
Yeah, she has a son that she'll never see, and she replaces them with pornographic actors she wants to have sex with.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's how Jack introduces her, is like, she's the mom of everybody who needs a mom. She's not a mom to her own kid.
Yeah, and that's, that's part of the tragedy and the dichotomy of that character. Yeah. And that when she first does her first scene with Dirk Diggler, Eddie, there's this, they have this, it's filmed in a very interesting way. And at first I thought it was like, we don't want to see Julianne Moore naked, I guess, or whatever. She's kind of an established actress, but then later they do show her naked. But it's very close. It feels very claustrophobic. I don't know if it's supposed to represent sort of the, maybe the closest of these two characters coming together, or if it's like the anxiety of doing this for the first time, or what. I
think it was more the anxiety. Like the camera angles were all really weird.
Yeah.
In this scene.
Yeah.
Like at one point we're watching it through the camera backwards, like looking into the camera instead of through the lens. But yeah, and I thought this was really weird too, that she says to him, are you ready to come inside me? Mm-hmm. Like, but she's supposed to be motherly and she's telling him to come inside her. She's like, I'm fixed, don't worry about it. Like, what? And then they had to reshoot it. Didn't her husband, or I keep wanting to say husband, but didn't Jack, to me, he seemed upset.
I think so. It's hard to say. They never really go into that.
Right. Like, I wonder if it's like Pretty Woman, like no kissing on the mouth, no coming in the pussy. Like, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's something special that's only for him, and she let
I don't know.
the other guy have it.
I don't know. That's really not something I want to think about. But, yeah. The financier of this whole thing is somebody named the Colonel. So I guess he's technically like the big producer, the executive producer. He puts up the money, and he gets a big portion of the returns for it. Our introduction to him is he shows up at this party, the one where someone's looking for Maggie, with a woman who knows how old.
She looked very young.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, whatever her name is. And, like, she's like, oh, is there cocaine at this party? And, of course. He's like, oh, I'm sure you can find some somewhere. And this guy's like, oh, let's do coke together. And this is another almost Tarantino-like kind of sequence where after a while, they're all talking and everything. They get introduced to... he wants to see Dirk Diggler's penis.
Yeah.
He pulls it out, and the look on his face is just like he's mesmerized or whatever.
That's pretty funny.
Like he shut down, But then anyway, so later at this party, we go into a back room where this woman is like dead, essentially, or dying.
Yeah.
She's got blood just pouring out of her face. And he's like, oh, this is the second woman to overdose on me in 2 days or whatever. And he's like, do you think maybe you should get some better shit then?
That seemed like a valid point.
So they drop her at the... He like just clinically kind of goes through, take her to St. Joe's.
Don't let him see the limo.
Drop her off there, Throw her in the parking lot. Get the fuck out of there, kind of thing.
Awful.
Yeah, they have to slap the shit out of this guy that made her or let her overdose or whatever.
And then later, he gets arrested.
Because he had a 15-year-old over to his house.
Which, isn't the worst part. I mean, a 15-year-old to his house who then overdosed.
Overdosed on cocaine. Same sort of thing.
Yeah. So you think that's why he's in jail, right?
Yeah, and Burt Reynolds is like, okay. And he's like, I didn't touch her or whatever. He's like, you know me, I wouldn't have touched her. And he's like, okay, so you didn't do anything. He's like, all right, you didn't do anything. He's like, I didn't do anything to her. I didn't do anything to her. He's like, okay. He's like, but they found something at the house. And he's like, what? And
he's like, they're just so cute when they're so small.
Yeah.
Oh.
So obviously he had child pornography pictures.
Which, at least he's like, Jack, we're still friends, right? And Jack just hangs up the phone and
Jack's
walks away
fucking
from him.
done with this dude.
Good. Yeah. And at least, we see at the end of the movie, he's in jail. Still getting his ass beat.
Oh, getting just fucking beaten the shit out of.
Well, that's what happens to pedophiles in prison.
Yeah.
So at least that was a good thing.
Well, a lot of justice happens in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, everybody pretty
ways.
much has a happy ending.
Yeah.
Except I don't really feel like Dirk's ending is happy.
This is what he always wanted to do. He always wanted to be a star or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I guess his penis is working again. We go through a period of time where, like, he can't get it up. That's kind of why he gets so pissed off and, like, ends up leaving the porn industry is because he's on all these drugs and he can't have sex. Yeah. You can't, I mean, like, he quit so they wouldn't fire him, basically.
Right.
But, I mean, at the end, he's back. I almost forgot about the whole Tarantino-esque scene at the end. Him and his friends go to pull a scam.
Yeah, on Alfred Molina.
With, what do they have in there? Baking soda or something? They were trying to pass it off as cocaine?
Yeah, as a half a key of cocaine for $5,000.
This was so weird. Like, this guy in his house, like, they just hand the guy $5,000 for this bag of powder.
Yeah.
He's the guy whose house it is walking around in a robe and underwear, and he's just out of his mind.
And he's talking about how he loves his mixtape.
There's this, he said he's Chinese, I think, guy in the corner who's lighting off firecrackers and just throwing them around this room inside the house.
Yep.
And then he had this big burly black bodyguard who took the drugs. Mm-hmm. They saw he had a gun. Like, okay, you got the money, leave. This scene made me angrier than anything else in the whole movie.
Yeah. Well, they're sitting there. It's a very tense scene.
Very tense.
So what they were told by Todd, it was another, he's like an exotic dancer or whatever. I think he does movies sometimes. He got introduced to him by Reed. So it's Reed and Dirk and this Todd guy. And he says, this is what we're going to do. We're going to sell it for like $5,000, then we can split it 3 ways. He's like, oh, cool. Really stupid idea, but they don't have much money, so they need to do it. So anyway, they're there. They've got the $5,000, and they're just sitting there listening to this guy talk, and these firecrackers are going off, and it's getting more and more tense.
Oh, and the music in the background. Remember it was like anyway.
Until finally, this guy pulls out a gun too.
Yeah,
puts one bullet in it and is like gonna do Russian roulette himself or whatever. And he's just like, oh, the look on your guys' face, it's all fucked up.
Oh, I thought he pulled the trigger.
I don't think so. I think he cocked it, but he didn't pull the trigger. But anyway, so finally John C. Reilly's like, hey, we gotta go, and he's like, oh, you just got here. And then Todd's like fucking starts talking to himself almost, it seems like. And he's like, no, we've got a plan or whatever.
We want something else from you.
Yeah, we want something else from you. And he says, you've got a safe in your bedroom in the floor.
Under your bed.
And we want what's inside.
How does he even know that? Like, he must know somebody who works there or something. I don't know. That was weird.
I don't know. But he knew what he needed to know.
So then it just turns into, a shootout.
Because the guy, the bodyguard's going to pull out his gun, and he's like, don't pull out your gun. And he does, and he shoots him in the shoulder, and then Todd, and he starts trying to shoot everyone else, and then Todd shoots and kills him, and then go, like an idiot, like Alfred Molina went to hide in his back room, right, in his bedroom, and like an idiot, he goes and just opens the door. Just standing for, like, not hiding behind the fucking wall or anything. Just standing full in the door frame, just opens the door. And, of course, he gets shot.
Yeah.
And killed.
Like, he has a safe in there. You don't think he got a gun in there?
Yes, he's got a big shotgun. And then he goes after the other two, and they run away.
And, so when he finally gets away, he runs to Jack's, even though they've been estranged and everything because of their big fight.
Yeah.
And he's like, will you please help me?
Yeah.
He's like crying and stuff. And
he's like, I wanted to say I was sorry and all that stuff.
Yeah. And he just, like, Jack hugs him, and it's like everything's just okay again.
And it was that you wanted that.
That was tender, yes. That was a tender, happy moment.
Yeah.
But then we see all these people back at the house, and like you said, the family element. But he's about to go fuck Amber again for another porn. Amber? Yeah.
I don't know. It might be somebody else.
She was getting ready.
Oh, was she?
She was in a dressing room getting ready.
Okay. Well.
So it just it was just full circle back. Oh, and then before that too, he was full circle back. He was selling himself. He'd been selling himself at the beginning of the movie in the restaurant.
Yeah.
$5 to see his penis, $10 to watch him jack off.
Yeah.
So then for a while he's out there on the street doing drugs and shit, he was selling himself, and he got his ass beat. I mean, there's just so much bad stuff that happened to him.
Now, do you think the end of this movie, would you call that a money shot?
What?
The end of this film. So throughout the whole film...
the penis.
They're making a big deal about his penis. And they never show it. They come close sometimes. They'll show you like a dick print or whatever, But they never show his penis. But everyone's talking about it. It's this big thing. Did you want to see it?
Well, yeah, of course. And then at the end, they actually showed it to us.
And were you impressed?
I mean, no, because it's not a real penis.
Yeah, it's
pretty obvious that it wasn't a real penis.
It's a prosthetic penis.
I think that's why they could get away with doing that. Like, I don't know. Do you think they could get away with that with a real penis?
No, it'd be X-rated.
Yeah. Although there was a woman completely naked, like, her
fine.
bush and everything.
That's fine.
It's not. I mean, like, I feel like
that's a R rating,
It shouldn't be. And I think this movie should have been like NC-17.
You don't get an X rating for that.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the film. What did you think overall?
Like I said, it left me feeling icky. It's a good movie. It's technically well done. It's a good story. It left me feeling icky.
I thought it was fantastic.
I know you liked it.
It's Like I said, I think it does an excellent job of showing the humanity of this while not glamorizing it.
Yeah.
But that is the episode, Carol. Tell the people what they need to know before they go.
All right, so you can write us at latefee1994@aol.com.
Mm-hmm.
Check out our website at www.retrolatefee.com.
Yep.
And tell your friends.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.